YouTubians. So I recently upgraded from my Panasonic G7 to the Sony A7S III for YouTube. One of the features of the new Sony is they let you use CFExpress Type A cards instead of just normal SD cards. CFExpress cards are so expensive that it made me do a real deep dive on whether or not just any old SD card would do. Like, is there a difference using a CFExpress card versus a normal SD card? Like, what is the difference between these things? Why would you spend hundreds of dollars on memory card? And after doing a very deep dive, I think I can explain this in 3 minutes. In 2021, a UHS-I card will work in just about any camera that was created around this time. Okay, there's only 3 things on this card that you need to understand. The simplest is the capacity. 128 gigabytes, that's how much data this card can hold on it. In my workflow, I record a video and then I move it over to hard drives, and then I just wipe the card. So I don't really care too much about capacity. This one's 128 gigabytes. I never even get close to using up the whole thing. And a lot of the times you might find it's cheaper just to buy tons of these ones than it is to get a really high capacity cards. The second important thing printed on these cards is the read speed of the card. When you're taking the data off of this card and moving it to your hard drive, how long it's gonna take you to do it is determined by this number. The reason I don't care too much about read speeds is because it would only take me 13 minutes to pull all 128 gigabytes off of this card. I can sit around and wait for that long. I'm not that crazy about it. The big thing you're looking for is the write speed to the card, which is going to be next to the V. It's the Video Speed Class. This tells you how fast you can write to the card. It's going to be your limiting factor when buying SD cards. In order to figure out if 30 megabytes per second is a fast enough write speed for my recording purposes, I have to figure out the bit rate of my camera. You have to look at your camera and it's going to tell you based on your record settings how fast you're going to be writing to the card. On the Sony A7S III, I'm recording in 4K, 10-bit, 422 at 24 frames per second. If you go on the camera, it'll list the bit rate as 50 megabits per second. And you're probably saying right now, holy crap, Sean, 50 megabits per second, that's faster than 30 written on the card. So cameras and SD cards like to trick you. This number next to the V on the card is written in megabytes per second. And the number written on the bit rate in your camera is megabits per second. There are 8 bits in a byte. This is so hard to say. And so a 50 megabit bit rate is perfectly fast for a 30 megabyte card. For a 30 megabyte card, we can effectively multiply that number by 8, and that's the maximum bit rate that this card could support. 8 times 30 is 240. So if your bit rate on your camera goes over 240 megabytes per second, suddenly this card is not fast enough anymore and you need to upgrade. Honestly, there aren't many record settings on this camera that get over that amount. If you try to record in super slow motion in uncompressed file format, you can get your bitrate up above that number. I don't do it ever, but it is possible. And so if I wanted to record those settings, that's why this camera does take UHS-II or CFExpress Type A cards. Nailed it. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about SD cards, but there's tons of other stuff written on the front of this card that I'm gonna go over for good measure. Let's do it. First is UHS Speed Class, which is the number 10 with a circle around it. This number used to be the write speed of the card until they moved to Video Speed Class, and then they just stopped updating the number at 10. So this number never goes past 10. It's all a marketing gimmick. You don't need to understand it. We've already been over the Video Speed Class, which is the write speed of your SD card. We've already been over the UHS Bus Class, which is whether you're using UHS-I or UHS-II, it'll be this Roman numeral here. We've already been over capacity, we've already been over read speed, and that's everything that's on the SD card. There's nothing else you need to know. The only other question I had about SD cards are, should you buy from like a certain brand or anything like that? I'll list the cards that I bought for my camera in the description, but I don't know if there's anything special about them. For me, as long as the write speed and the capacity matches up with what I'm recording at for my camera, I'm basically just looking for the cheapest card possible. And that's SD cards and hopefully the amount of time that I said. See you later, guys.